We all know that person. Maybe it's the colleague who dominates every meeting with tales of their weekend sailing trip, casually mentioning their new Tesla. Maybe it's the old friend on social media whose feed is a perfectly curated monument to their flawless children, exotic vacations, and a relationship that seems scripted by Hollywood. Or perhaps it's the humble bragger, the one who complains about being so exhausted from their back-to-back international business flights. We all know them, and we all know how their constant need to display their success makes us feel annoyed, a little resentful, maybe even a bit small. It's a subtle poison that can curdle a good mood and make you question your own life choices. But what if that feeling of annoyance is a distraction? What if you're looking at them all wrong? Where you see arrogance, you should see a weapon. Where you see confidence, you should see a cage. Because that relentless need to show off isn't just a clumsy sign of insecurity. It's one of the oldest and most effective tactics for psychological control, straight out of the Machiavellian playbook. This isn't just about someone trying to feel better about themselves. This is a power game, a carefully orchestrated performance designed to manage perceptions, control social dynamics, and keep you exactly where they want you. By the end of this video, you will not only understand all the rules of this game, but you will also know how to make yourself immune to them. Part 1. The Insecurity Engine. To understand the weapon, you must first understand the wound it's designed to protect. The engine driving the most over-the-top displays of success isn't genuine power or authentic self-worth. It's a deep, gnawing insecurity. At its core, bragging is a compensatory defense mechanism. It's a behavior born from a persistent, nagging feeling of being inadequate, a void that the braggart is frantically trying to fill with your admiration, your envy, and your attention. Psychologists refer to this as a manifestation of an inferiority complex, a concept pioneered by Alfred Adler. Adler theorized that we all experience feelings of inferiority in childhood, but for some this feeling becomes overwhelming, driving them to overcompensate in their adult lives. They are constantly striving for a feeling of superiority to mask their deep-seated doubts about their own value. This makes their ego incredibly fragile. It isn't built from within. It's rented, borrowed, and scraped together from the opinions of others. This is why they soar with applause and shatter with criticism, or, even worse, your indifference. Think of it like a peacock's feathers. It's a beautiful, impressive display meant to distract you from the small, vulnerable bird underneath. The person who constantly boasts about their achievements is often terrified they're not actually good enough. They need you to admire them because deep down they don't admire themselves. Their grandiosity is a mask, and what they get from you, your attention, praise, or even fear, is what psychologists call narcissistic supply. This supply is like a drug. It gives them a temporary high and validates the false, superior self they present to the world, helping them avoid the profound shame they feel underneath. This person is putting on a constant, exhausting performance. They are driven by an almost pathological need to feel important because they haven't convinced themselves of their own worth. This need can be so intense that they will exaggerate their wins, embellish their stories, or even invent successes from thin air, all for a temporary hit of admiration. They become trapped on a treadmill of self-promotion, where each boast provides only a fleeting moment of relief before that gnawing feeling of inferiority returns, demanding an even bigger, more impressive display next time. Social media, of course, has poured gasoline on this fire. It has created a global arena for competitive comparison, allowing people to construct a perfect illusion of a life, meticulously sharing only the wins while hiding all the losses, the struggles, and the mundane realities. Every filtered vacation photo, every glowing promotion announcement, every picture of a perfect family is a bid for validation. This curated reality pressures everyone else to keep up, creating a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle of competitive bragging. But behind every post is often the same raw need, the desperate desire to be seen as superior to mask an internal feeling of being inferior. This isn't strength, it's the symptom of a wound that no amount of likes, shares, or compliments can ever truly heal. Part 2. The Machiavellian Tactic. But here's where the story takes a much darker and more calculated turn. If you dismiss showing off as just a cry for help or a sign of low self-esteem, you miss the strategic genius behind it. In the world of power dynamics, what looks like a weakness can be sharpened into a formidable weapon. While Niccolo Machiavelli wasn't writing about your co-worker bragging in the break room, his ruthless strategies on power reveal how human emotions can be used as levers of control. From a Machiavellian perspective, emotions like envy, admiration, and insecurity aren't just feelings, they're tools. Showing off transforms from a simple act of ego into a calculated move to dominate the social landscape. For someone with manipulative tendencies, flaunting success isn't about feeling good, it's about gaining an edge. This tactic often serves three distinct, ruthless purposes. First, it controls the narrative and establishes dominance. By constantly broadcasting their own superiority, whether through wealth, intelligence, status, or connections, the show-off makes others feel inferior. This is a form of psychological pressure designed to preemptively shut down challenges. When you are made to feel less accomplished, less intelligent, or less important, you are less likely to question their authority, compete for the same resources, or challenge their ideas. They are actively creating an environment where their dominance feels natural and inevitable. This is a classic power play. Don't just win the game, change the rules so no one else feels worthy enough to even play. Second, it tests loyalty and exposes threats. When someone makes a grand display of their success, they are sending up a flare and carefully watching how everyone reacts. Those who rush in with fawning praise and effusive compliments are immediately marked as allies, or more accurately, sycophants who can be easily manipulated and used. But the ones who stay silent, who appear unimpressed, or who offer even mild constructive criticism, they reveal themselves as potential threats, independent thinkers who cannot be easily controlled. By deliberately provoking envy and awe, the show-off is mapping the social terrain, identifying who is a follower and who might be a future rival. It's a loyalty test disguised as a celebration of success. Third, and most insidiously, it uses envy to destabilize and distract others. Envy is not just a passive feeling of wanting what someone else has. It is an all-consuming and destructive emotion. It drains your focus, saps your creative energy, and clouds your judgment. A person consumed with jealousy over their rival's new promotion isn't focused on their own career path. They're focused on their rival. The show-off understands this intuitively. They want you to be so busy coveting their success, dissecting their Instagram feed, and resenting their achievements that you neglect your own goals. They create a storm of distraction and envy among competitors, who then waste precious time and energy reacting to the noise of the performance instead of focusing on their own substantive work. This is psychological warfare. While you're lost in a fog of envy, they are moving ahead, unimpeded. In this cold and cynical worldview, every interaction is a play for power. Showing off stops being a clumsy display of a fragile ego and becomes a sophisticated, highly effective strategy to psychologically disarm and control everyone in their orbit. So, here we arrive at the central paradox of the braggart. They are often both deeply insecure and highly manipulative. It's not a case of one or the other. It's a toxic, self-perpetuating loop where the two sides feed each other continuously. Their profound insecurity creates a desperate, insatiable need for external validation, and they learn that manipulative tactics are the most efficient way to secure that validation. The act of showing off is simultaneously their cry for help and their declaration of war. They need your attention to soothe their fragile ego, yet they weaponize that very attention to assert dominance over you. It's a sinister game where nobody, not even the show-off, truly wins. This behavior corrodes trust and fosters toxic environments, whether in a friendship circle, a family, or a corporate office. They are masters at creating what can be called pseudo-teams, groups that appear to be collaborative but are actually crippled by internal rivalries and suspicion, all sown by one person's incessant need for the spotlight. Productivity grinds to a halt as team members become more concerned with managing the braggart's ego or competing for their favor than with achieving collective goals. But in playing this game with others, the show-off is also playing a dangerous game with themselves. They become addicted to the performance, to the rush of validation they get from external sources. This constant flow of narcissistic supply provides a temporary high, but reinforces the destructive core belief that their worth is conditional, that it comes from the outside. They begin to confuse the mask with their actual face. A state psychiatrist, Nevzat Tarhan, warns, leads to the formation of a false personality. The show-off becomes utterly dependent on their audience. Without applause, without envy, without attention, they feel like they are nothing. This can lead to a state of profound anxiety, and if the supply is cut off, what is known as a narcissistic collapse, a severe depression or rage, when the grandiose self-image can no longer be sustained. And this total dependency makes them predictable. A person who needs constant praise is easy to manipulate. Flatter them, and you can lead them anywhere. Threaten their source of validation, and they will panic. The very tool they use to project power, their desperate need to be seen as powerful, is also the precise blueprint for their downfall. Their greatest weapon is also their most profound weakness. So how do you deal with this person? How do you win a game that feels rigged from the start? The answer is as simple as it is radical. You don't play. The moment you react with envy, with anger, or even with the over-the-top admiration they crave, you've accepted your role in their drama. You've given them the narcissistic supply they need and validated their worldview. You've become a pawn on their board. The real path to power isn't to engage on their terms, to try and one-up them, or to call them out in a fit of frustration. The path to victory is to observe, to understand, and to remain completely and utterly unmoved. This is the art of strategic indifference. True power is quiet. It isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being the calmest. When you encounter a braggart, learn to do the following. First, recognize the performance for what it is. Don't just hear their words. See the machine at work. See the insecurity engine churning away, desperate for fuel. See the manipulative tactics they're deploying, the attempt to make you feel small, the test for loyalty, the bait of envy. When you reframe their boast from an assertion of superiority to an admission of inadequacy, it loses all its power over you. Second, master your emotional state. Their goal is to provoke a reaction. Your goal is to deny them one. Practice what is known as detached observation. Acknowledge their statement with a neutral, minimal response. A simple "I see," "good for you," or a polite nod, before immediately changing the subject to something more constructive. This communicates that you are not a source of supply, and that their attempts to engage you in their power game have failed. Your calmness becomes a shield that their provocations cannot penetrate. Third, starve the behavior, not the person. This doesn't mean being rude or confrontational, which can escalate the situation and make you the center of a new drama. It simply means you refuse to reward the bragging. Don't ask follow-up questions about their new boat. Don't engage with their humble brag on social media. Reward their positive behaviors when they listen, when they collaborate, when they show genuine interest in others, with your full attention and engagement. You are conditioning them subtly that the path to your respect lies through authenticity, not performance. This is the silence of supremacy. A person who is truly confident doesn't need to announce it. Their competence, their actions, and their results do the talking for them. The master martial artist doesn't walk around challenging everyone to a fight. Only the beginner does, because he's not sure he can win. Be the master. Let them exhaust themselves in the spotlight, while you build your influence in silence. Let them chase applause while you chase results. You are no longer a piece on their board. You are an observer of the entire game, and from that position, you are untouchable. We live in a culture that screams for attention. We're constantly told to be visible, to build a personal brand, to shout our worth from the digital rooftops. But as we've seen, there is a vast and crucial difference between fame and power. Fame is fragile, loud, and dependent on the ever-shifting validation of the crowd. It is an addiction to the raw. Power is quiet, durable, and built in private through competence and action. It is demonstrated only when it matters. The next time you are confronted by someone showing off, whether it's a colleague, a friend, or an influencer on your screen, resist the familiar sting of annoyance or envy. Instead, see them for what they are, a person trapped in a paradoxical game of their own making, driven by a wound they cannot heal, and deploying a strategy you can now effortlessly dismantle. See the insecurity, see the tactic, see the cage they have built for themselves, and by simply seeing the game for what it is, you've already won. If you're ready to stop being a player and start seeing the whole board, subscribe for more insights into the psychology of power and influence, and comment "Power is quiet" down below if this idea hit home for you.